There, y'all.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is another edition of our Real Estate Backstory. We do this every Monday morning around 8:30, 9 o'clock every week, trying to kind of bring you up to speed about the comings and goings, the thing happening in the real estate world, and especially here in the Atlanta area. My name is Alan Richardson. I'm the managing broker here at Maximum One Realty and Realtor Partners.
My name is Ming Richardson. I'm the compliance broker from Maximum One and Realty and Realtor Partners.
All right, we want to kind of start off by talking about a little bit about the lawsuits that's going on, because there was another one filed this past week. And so in the past, all the lawsuits have really been tied up heavily around sellers and sellers being forced to pay buyer's commission. Now, what's interesting about the new lawsuit is actually by home buyers. And the suit basically says that, listen, and it's basically the same groups that were getting sued last time are getting sued again. But the suit alleges that what's really going on is that the buyers can't negotiate for their commissions. You know, that the sellers are the ones who have been negotiating what the commission was. They didn't have a say in what it was. And at the end of the day, when they bought the house, they bought the commissions, but they didn't have the right to negotiate that. And this really comes down to, are we filling out and completing our buyer brokerage engagement agreements?
So no longer most brokerage that practice are allowing their agent to allow a zero commission, just simply because we're trying to avoid all these issues. Okay.
Well, but it really does come down to really, we have to be talking about, we have to bring our commissions up. We have to discuss what's going on. We have to talk about, these are the services I provide. These are the fees that I charge, and especially on the buy side as well. In the past, a lot of agents just like, well, I'll just do it when, as soon as we get a contract, that's when I'll fill it out. Well, what happens if you have, and we are seeing not that many, but there are some listings out there that offer no buyer's co-op. And so how are you going to get around that? And then also, more than that, how are you getting past the whole, I didn't have a right to negotiate for my commission kind of thing, if now you're doing it at the time that you present a contract? So there's some concerns about it. Yes, it has to be done before or when the contract is submitted.
Right, before a contract is submitted. And this is part of your buyer consultation. You need to have a discussion with your buyer. So no longer this presumptuous, I get a co-op, and no longer the buyer brokerage says per MLS co-op fee or TBA or 0%. That's you guys, at the end of the day, you're not in this business to make nothing. I mean, you spend your time, your resources, your gas money, everything. So you should feel like that your work is worth something.
Yeah. Well, and now a couple of quick things. Just like in the other lawsuits, first of all, Georgia is not named. So we aren't in here, but largely because we don't have NAR MLSs, meaning our MLSs aren't dictated by the
National Association of Realtors.
Right. Also, here in Georgia, like we've never forced seller agent commissions. We don't force commissions on things like that. In some of the other states, they are doing that. So like the impact for us here is not a direct impact in that it will change
however it will change the landscape of real estate.
It has potential to change conversations. And so for us, the risk is, are we going to be the ones who initiate the conversation and bring it up and bring our clients up to speed? Or are we just going to act like no one sees the elephant in the room? We need to be ready to discuss this. And a lot of folks don't want to discuss their commissions, and I get it. If you went into the doctor, he's not going to negotiate and discuss what he's getting charged, that kind of stuff. And
or he's charging you, right?
So,
but his opinion, his expertise, and his knowledge and schooling, everything else he's done in the past is what makes him worthwhile, because he is diagnosing your issues or fixing your issue. And that's what we're doing. We're basically meeting the demands of the seller and buyer based on their wants and needs and what they can or cannot afford or able or not able to do.
Yeah, these are the services I provide. These are the fees I charge. And now, whether we're talking about from a seller and a listing side, or we're talking about a buyer on a buyer brokerage engagement, we have to be the ones who talk about it, bring it up, and explain, and also provide value. The days of just saying, "Here, sign this buyer brokerage agreement," before I'll talk to you. Those are gone. That is
You
not
can't
here
do that.
anymore. It just doesn't work, and it's not going to work. So, it's still about relationships. It's about building those kind of things as we move forward here.
And so if you practice properly and know what your worth are, this will never become an issue, y'all. So it will be a non-issue at this point.
Yep.
So all disclosure are given and all transparency are given.
Yep. So changing gears, we want to jump over and let National Association of Home Builders, Wells Fargo, they just released their new Wells Fargo Housing Opportunity Index, which basically says, how excited are folks for real estate. And so on the real estate side of things, right now there is a lot of downward pressure on us. We've been feeling it. A lot of that is tied directly to affordability. And right now, affordability is at a historically low level. And, what's been the cause of that, though? Interest rates. And so, when you see these numbers, you're like, oh, okay, it's the interest rates that's really kicking us. Now, we have really good news, though. Like this past week, interest rates dropped over 1/4 point.
Yay!
So, I know that we aren't necessarily down to where we want to be by any means. However, seeing it drop 1/4 point in a week, some folks are like, well, why did it drop so much? So the jobs report came in a lot worse, which doesn't make sense. You'd figure that if the jobs report came in better, interest rates would go down, but it went the other way around. The Fed didn't raise the federal funds rate last week, kind of thing. And then a lot of folks in the marketplace talking about interest rates are really going to be coming down. Yields are coming down on treasuries, those kind of things. So it's lowering all the expectations, and we're seeing interest rates starting to moderate more. And this is a really great thing. In response to that, mortgage purchase applications shot up last week. And so that's a really great thing. We're almost up to where we were this time last year. And so, as interest rates continue to move, that's a really positive thing moving forward. Now, when it comes down to what really affects interest rates, it's going to be your credit score. And some folks will say, yeah, credit score is important. I'll work on it later. No.
No, you work on it now.
Well, and see, like this is the difference for renters and mortgage purchasers kind of thing. What percentage of how much more does it cost people who have crappy credit? It's really, that's not, they on here it says credit insecure. I'm just telling you, it's a code word for crappy credit.
If it was your money, would you give your money to someone historically do not pay their debt, historically would spend their money on entertainment, historically will not meet their obligation? And this is why credit score matter, is that, even if the buyer has to behave for just a little bit to get where they need to go, and hopefully that behavior become a pattern and a habit down the future, so they can actually realize their dream of home ownership. So this is not going to change overnight. Okay, with that said, this is a long-term relationship. This is a long-term drip that you need to inform your client, say, look, what you do does matter, and see what you give up today is worthwhile tomorrow, because now you're seeing all these benefits from your current sacrifices.
Well, and in very tangible terms, crappy credit costs you 25% more. Right. So like the whole idea, and I get it, the folks who have the worst credit have the most challenges with money. Right. And however, everything costs them 25% more. So they're going to pay more for their cars. They're going to pay more to buy a home. They got to pay more for a rental. It hurts everywhere. And so the more that we can educate our clients, because our clients still come to us for credit advice, that we want to let them know that seriously, like your bad credit will hurt you by 25%.
And listen, you're a good lender, Wildfire Mortgage Team.
Yeah.
They have good LOs that will advise your client on what they can do to put up those points. And sometimes, buyer wants it right now versus 6 months down the road when their credit score is much better. That's okay. But at least we can work toward a common goal and get your client, one, build wealth, and two, save more money, because they're not incurring more cost by having a low credit score.
Yeah. Now, on the whole, because there's a lot of debates about, is it cheaper to rent or cheaper to buy? And if you were measuring out straight apples to apples, then especially right now, it is cheaper to rent than buy. However, this is a report that just came in came in from Zillow, and they're like, you know what? The average share of a renter that they spend in the Atlanta area, they're spending almost, they're 58%, almost 60% of their income is going towards their rental, as opposed to a new mortgage is going for about 34% of total
You
income.
guys, this is where wealth is being built.
Yeah.
You're talking about 25% of wealth going back to the homeowners.
Well, and you can say, look, interest rates are high, but your rental interest rate's 100%, right? And so for folks who have and whether and it's worse if you have poor credit, right? If you have poor credit, the average, your the percentage of money that you're having to spend on your mortgage is around 37% as opposed to 33.8. But if you're renting and you have poor credit, 65, 2/3 of your income is going towards rent. And so that one, I want, 2 points that we wanted to show on here. One, that, having good credit helps you
Matters.
out and saves you money. Two, when you really look at the overall average cost of a new renter versus average cost of a new first-time buyer, it's not even close. And then that's even before we start talking about building wealth through home equity, having a fixed rate mortgage so your payments don't continue to go up. Those rent payments are going up over time. They really are.
Go up as as we go in the future. It's never going to come down, because if you look at it, as every year goes by, the pay gets better. If not, the minimum wage has raised. So therefore, it will always go up. It will never come down in the 30 year that you own the home.
Yeah. So now the good part here, or not the good part, the next thing we want to kind of talk about is what do renters look like today? What are today's renter? And so a couple of interesting things. First of all, the average renter has pets. About 60%, 57% of our renters have pets. However, only 30% have kids. So twice as many renters have an animal as opposed to having a child.
It's a cheaper to maintain a pet than it is to maintain a child.
I get that, but still, overall, and so a couple of things. One, if you're gonna be dealing with folks going from renting to buying, are we going to have to talk about pets much more?
Absolutely.
Twice as often as you are going to have to talk about kids. It used to be the exact way around. It was always about kids and their needs. So on one thing, for a lot of our renters, do we have to pay attention to their needs? Because when we had dogs before we had kids, those were our babies. And so fenced in yard, how the space works for pets. That's a really big deal to today's renters. We have to understand that.
And now we have both. So before you ever move in our new house, we had to get a fence up.
Yeah.
So there we go.
And rooms for kids. I guess they're greedy.
Yeah.
No. So now the other thing here is what percentage of renters rents what type of property. And so you'll see that roughly around 45% of folks are in apartments.
Mm-hmm.
However, 30% of renters are renting a single family detached house. And so that means that roughly a third of our renters out there already understands a lot of the benefits of living in a single family detached home. I don't have any neighbors on my wall. I've got my own security. I've got it's a little bit quieter. Those kind of things are really great. But what they're not seeing is any property value appreciation. They're not seeing fixed rate mortgages and those kind of things. So there's a great potential for, these are folks that are spending a lot of money because they're paying that landlord's mortgage plus their profit. So, if they can do all that, they can afford to own their own home. Now, right now, there's a trend that we have going on for our buyers. Especially for folks who are selling and buying. The average move in Georgia right now is 110 miles. And so what we're seeing is that on one hand, we're having to build up really large referral
Mhm.
networks because we have a lot of our buyers are moving to other areas, especially for our sellers. Our sellers are moving to other areas when they do buy. However, for our renters, they stay really close. 70% of renters are staying in the same metro area, but a much higher percentage. So if you do start engaging with renters when it's time to buy, it's much more likely that they're going to be here local and working with you.
Correct.
Now, lower rates are also looking like it's going to turn even more renters into for sale shoppers kind of thing. So,
Well, if you think about it, they can save a little money right now in order to put away down payment. So there's a good potential these buyers
yeah.
are looking at for sale because they know historically their rent's always going up. So therefore,
Yeah,
it's smarter.
but about a third of your renters will just never consider buying, no matter what. They're always going to rent. They won't consider any other way. However, 2/3 of all renters are considering buying. They're
Mhm.
thinking about buying, and so when you look at the number of folks out there who are buying and how they're not capturing any equity, that kind of stuff, we can really help folks out a lot, and it's very, very powerful, especially when you start looking at 73% of our Gen Z and 70% of our millennials all
You know
are
what's
ready to
interesting?
buy.
Looking at that graph, I noticed that boomer, the silent eight generation I never bought before, will never consider buying.
Yeah, they're set.
That well, it and like they said, that's as you get older, you're set in your
Yeah.
way. So therefore, they look at the maintenance and everything else. I get that, but at the same time, they also feel like that I am of this age. Who's gonna give me a loan for 30 years?
Well, but
So
the
and just be encouragement to them, just so you know, a lender cannot discriminate based on age.
yeah.
As long as they have the income, provided that they can pay the rent, mortgage, they're good to go.
Yeah. Now on the really positive side, that we've seen that where renters who are considering buying in the next year is at its highest level ever. And so in the past, it's been in the 30s and up to high 30s. And it's 43% of renters that want to buy and rent in the next that want to buy in the next year. Only 52% are planning on continuing renting in there. So like more and more buyers want to buy homes. And so while I know that interest rates are a challenge, it's great seeing them coming down. The buyers still want to buy, and so many of our renters want to own homes. It's a very powerful thing. A matter of fact, home ownership remains the number one feature of the American dream. When somebody says, what's the American dream? Number one thing, I want to own my own home. I want to own
Absolutely.
my own home. And so, we have to understand the power that comes with that. That's also a great message to be talking to first time buyers. And, if you are trying to market out into renters, that kind of stuff, what do you want to talk about? The power of ownership, the power of owning a home, how owning a home is a goal. It's the American dream. Come get yours, kind of thing. It's a very powerful and smart place for us to be. Now, as far as like what's happening with property values, and see that currently right now we're sitting in nationwide at about 4.5% property value increase year over year. And this is something that's good for both our buyers as well as our sellers. Now, some folks will say, why would that be good for our buyers?
Wow.
Why? Okay, well, let me tell you. Because the last thing you want to do is buy a home and then it be worth less tomorrow. Like you want to be able to have that sense of confidence that I'm not buying a depreciating asset, and that's what we're not seeing that. And so you can see that the forecast is it to be around 2.6%. However, that's a national forecast, and when you really look at like what's going on with national numbers, you can see that like even Texas and out the West Coast, somewhat, you can see that property values vary by state, even by city
Well,
and
if you
neighborhood,
look
even
at
kind of
it,
thing.
it's never less than 1% overall.
Yeah.
Okay. And yes, geographically, certain state is really hot at a certain time and certain state cooling off, because Texas at one point had a huge demand and their price skyrocket. And so now they're in a cooling off period,
Well,
but
But
still.
that's what you see from so many is because
Right.
their prices went up so much. Here in Georgia, even though you look back and you think, wow, prices went up a lot, they didn't go up compared to a lot of other states that
Yeah,
much.
California and Texas,
You know.
they were crazy. And so now they're what we call cooling off period. But even with cooling off period, they're still attracting 1%.
Yeah,
or
and
more.
and here in Georgia, we're looking to be closer to 7% property value
Mhm.
appreciation for the year. So we're going to be a little bit higher than the national average, which we normally are. Georgia's a really strong market. We have a lot. We
And
have
we steadily climb. We don't do the extreme rate of hike in
Yeah.
prices.
Yep. So right now, our active listings for homes is down 9%. However, if you look at our trend line, what's happening with our active listings?
It's gone up since
Inventory.
2021.
Look, inventory. Yeah, well, we finally beat 2021. We're not up to where we were last year, but if you look at what's happening with the trend line right now, normally this time of year, active listings are going down. They're not
Due
going
to
up.
holiday season.
And so what you see is that this is what the national, the national inventory looks like, for the last, 8 years kind of thing. And you can see that there's always ebbs and flow. But you can see that we're moving towards a higher inventory level. And that's really good. We don't have enough homes to meet the demand that we have right now.
But if you look at that graph as well, we're not quite before pre-pandemic.
Oh yeah, we're not there by any means.
But it is moving toward a positive direction.
Yeah, and so what's coming out of that for our new listings of homes? New listings are up nationwide by 1%. Look, that's the first time we actually hit last year. All year, right? Probably for more than a year. And so the number of new listings are increasing, and that's really paying off. Like Ming said, though, you can see that new listings are still not where we need them to be. That we haven't hit the norms by any means on that side of things. But we are seeing overall inventory rising. We have more new listings and more total inventory coming onto the market. So that's a great thing for us to have. Now, pending sales are still down 9%. However, what you notice is we're getting closer and closer and closer to last year. Matter of fact, we're going to start passing last year really, really soon here. That's coming up on us. And first part of next year, we're probably going to be doing that.
We will surpass next year.
Yeah.
Just because it is election year, and typically, not always, interest rate comes down with all other incentive when it comes to
well, that's the thing is if interest rates come down, we start blowing the doors off last year.
And you guys, be ready.
Yeah.
Please go ahead and nurture your clients right now, because if you don't, guess what? Somebody else will.
Yeah, exactly. Now, all that being said, still a third of all of our properties are under contract in 2 weeks. And so this shows that there's still a ton of demand out there. Good properties in good condition, priced right, sell quickly.
Correct.
And they're continuing to sell very, very quickly. And that's really what we need. And you can see that falls right in line with the trend. So we're not seeing where a rise in inventory is really hurting sales. As a matter of fact, it's improving them kind of thing. Still, we have 30% of our homes that are sold over list price. And so, that's still a very significant number of homes that are being sold over list price for this market. So, the odd thing is at the same time, we have more listings that have a price drop.
So what that means is that 29% sold over list price, meaning those were the seller that were reasonably pricing their property. And for those that are unreasonably pricing their property, guess what? They're having to take a price drop.
Well, they sit there first, and then after they sit on the market, then they have to take a price reduction, and then they start looking at us like why haven't you sold my home? Well, we're not listing the home for the right price.
It's a difficult conversation for a listing agent to have with their seller. Say, hey, listen, even though I respect the fact that you think a house is worth this, but according to what's around your neighborhood, immediately around within 1 mile radius, your price point does not justify. But definitely I'll try whatever you want, but understand after 2 weeks we probably need to look at a price reduction just because we're listed too high.
Yeah. So right now, here's what the numbers show us. It's a better time to buy right now. Our interest rates are trending down. We have more price reductions than we've had
And the inventory's
ever,
rising.
and we have rising inventory.
But
All these are great for our buyers right now.
it is, but I do want buyer to understand, even though with all these great incentives, the seller is still not gonna give away their home.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
It's not that kind of market.
Don't go in there and expect a bunch of reduction and plus closing costs. Right now, a lot of sellers are willing to give closing costs or buy down rates, but they're not willing to do that plus a price reduction.
Yeah.
So seller knows the struggles that the buyers are having,
Yep.
but they're not willing to give away their equity neither.
So now, changing gears again, our investor purchases in Atlanta are down 50%. And so now nationwide, it's not down quite as much. It's down more in Georgia. And Georgia has traditionally been one of the really heaviest investor markets in the United States. And so our total investor purchases are down by half. And honestly, for our buyers, especially for our first-time buyers, that's a really positive thing.
That's great news.
Well, because like that being said, investors buy 1 out of every 4 low-priced home that's sold, right? And so when I say that overall investor purchases are down, that means that these are entry-level homes, starter homes, low-priced homes that a lot of our buyers are really trying to get into right now, because that's the most competitive segment of our market.
Sure.
If you're trying to find a home under 2 or 250 kind of thing, that's where the investors are operating. So seeing that they're not in our market again, just another reason why right now is really good. Some folks will be saying, look, maybe we wait for interest rates to go down. You know what? If you wait, guess what happens when interest rates go down? Demand goes up. And so, I am, like we have to be conscious of like interest rates go down, demand's going to go up. We're going to start fighting over homes again, and all that's coming on. So this is actually a really strong time to be a buyer in our market. So this week, tomorrow we have our sales meeting. It's in person in all of our offices. Please, I don't care who you're with, come in, join us for our monthly sales meeting.
In the sales meeting, we're probably going to talk, well, not probably, we will talk about some of the script and rebuttals that you may have with the new NAR lawsuit.
Yeah, we'll be going through that in a great detail.
So that way, come get some knowledge, because a lot of y'all think you can handle it, but let us help you be better in your script with your clients.
Yeah, we have some great things to share with you tomorrow. So please join us. On Wednesday, George and Melissa is going to be coming in teaching about their products and services. That's in our Newton office. And on Thursday, we have contracts, offer, and acceptance. It's going to be in Fayetteville. So.
And really quick, I know some of y'all may have taken Georgia MLS in the past before, but just know that they're always improving their system. So they may be a tool that you may not know is available to you. So come in and listen.
Yeah, there's so many great tools in there. So if we can be of any kind of service, please call, text, smoke signals. Hope you guys have a great week.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.